we replaced the lamb for cricket mince from Yumbug. And I think it's 17 times less carbon.
Once we've installed solar panels, we know what we can generate. Once we've returned on the initial capital investment, then effectively we're generating electricity for free.
From the forum, I personally, I love coming to the meetings. It is really inspiring, really energising. I think the forum is different to others because it's focused on action.
A fertiliser, which then is used on our fields for wheat generation, that's then harvested by one of our companies that's turned into flour that goes back to make our dough.
Because we're talking about sustainability and we're talking about big problems, we need to come together to come at solutions and come up with solutions for these massive problems.
Hello, welcome. I'm Bob Gordon, Director at Zero Carbon Forum. I'm here with Steve Holmes, CEO at Azzurri Group. Steve, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
Can we start just by asking you to outline a little bit about your business, the brands, how you operate?
Yeah, sure. So I have the pleasure to be the CEO of Azzurri Group. Azzurri's a UK hospitality platform. We've got 4 brands in our group at the moment. Zizi is our largest, probably well known, about 130, nearly 140 sites in the UK today. Ask Italian, about 65. We also have a Mexican fast casual business called Boojum, which has got 17 locations, only one in GB, most of them are in Ireland. And then we have Coco de Mama, which has a central London location plus a nationwide 200 delivery kitchens nationwide. They're our main businesses, and we employ probably about nearly 6,000 people up and down the country.
Great. Let's get straight into it. What's your perspective on sustainability as a CEO?
So straight into it then, Bob.
Straight into it.
Perspective. We started our sustainability journey a while ago, and I think for me, we started the journey because we thought it's important to be a better business. So there's lots of stuff that we don't know about sustainability. There's lots of stuff that scientists don't know about sustainability, and we didn't really know what we needed to do or where we needed to start. But we knew that we wanted to be a better business, and that we had a responsibility as a large business in hospitality to do our bit, for our customers, for our team members, and for the planet. So we set out with a very clear purpose for what we wanted to do, and we came up with a sort of purpose statement ultimately, which we call which is serving better, to serve better, and to build better food businesses for our customers, our people, and the planet. And then we set about over the last few years, sort of starting to become better educated on the topic, putting together a roadmap. About 2 years ago, we launched our sort of new and improved roadmap, which is called our Recipe for a Better Future, and we use that as a sort of roadmap to guide our business on all of the things that we needed to do to be a better business.
Yep. And has that changed in the time that you've been doing it? So certainly in my experience, I think sustainability 10 years ago was seen as a kind of moral and an ethical choice. Yeah. Whereas now I think that's changing. Do you look at it now in terms of risks and opportunities? Are you still looking at it in terms of a kind of a moral and ethical case? How's that changed over the time?
I still think we're approaching it because we think it's the right thing to do, and I think we have a responsibility to leave the planet in a better condition for our children, our children's children. If I'm controversial, I think what's changed in my mind is I thought 5 or 6 years ago that customers would be more interested in buying or frequenting a restaurant business that was doing more to reduce its carbon footprint and providing more lower carbon dishes and those kind of things. And as I say, my view now is perhaps that I'm not sure that they do. That doesn't change what we believe we should be doing as a business and what we think is the right thing to do, but I'm not sure that the customers necessarily go to restaurants or choose restaurants based on their sustainability.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I remember a quote, I can't remember who said it, but early on in my sustainability journey, and the quote is, sustainability is no more important than the colour of the curtains when people are choosing where to eat.
Yeah.
And it sticks with me because as people are out deciding where to eat, they can see the colour of the curtains, but they can't see your sustainability credentials. So it's absolutely right. It is no more important. But it is important to lots of your other stakeholders.
It's definitely important to stakeholders. I mean, it's definitely important to your workforce, I think. In many ways, the team members, the people who work for your business, I think it's more important to them than it is to the customers.
Yeah.
And why is it important to them? Because I think they, a younger, in my view anyway, a younger workforce is less motivated by money and other bits and pieces. Of course, they all want money because bills to pay, but more motivated by the value that they can add, the value they get from work, and therefore from the difference they can make at work to the business and on wider issues like sustainability. So I think having a very clear purpose and a clear sustainability agenda and having a culture that empowers people to, do what they think is right to improve the business and is important, I think, in both as a recruitment tool but also in a retention tool, keeping your people.
I guess it's recruitment, retention, and there's some good evidence that it's also good at inspiring people to work harder, faster, be more creative. If you are an advocate of your brand and you love working for the business that you work for, and as a young person this kind of stuff will definitely align you for that, then you're likely to be a better employee while you're there.
I think so, and you feel like you're making a difference. I think people want to make a difference. I don't think they want to just come to work and do tasks. I think they want to come and feel like they've added value. They're more, there's a purpose to what they're doing that's 100%. Greater than just the task that they happen to be completing, on a daily or weekly basis.
We talk about that so frequently about young people feeling like that, but I think all people feel like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think they do feel like that, but it's perhaps been knocked out of us oldies. As we've grown up, that's not been the focus. But I think the younger generation have grown up with that sort of mindset, and so therefore it's more overt in the way that they behave and the businesses they choose to work for.
So definitely motivating to employees. Let's talk about investors. Different perspectives on this, but certainly some evidence that some investors are asking a lot more questions, much more interested in what you're doing and why. And I know that's certainly true for you.
Well, no, we're very lucky actually, because our main investor is a private equity firm called Talbrook. Talbrook were the first private equity firm globally to get B Corp accreditation.
Okay.
So their founding partners and their senior management team are very passionate about doing the right thing for their investors. So responsible investing, effectively, and they invest in responsible businesses and other businesses. So they've been very supportive of our, first of all, our materiality assessment, and then the development of our roadmap recipe for a better future, and then the sort of investment, let's be honest, that's required to deliver a better sustainable agenda. They've been very supportive of that journey and very helpful. They've got a fantastic team of real experts in their sort of central support team that we've been able to draw down that wisdom on as to help us shape our strategy.
And do they see that this will improve the value of the business or the likely performance over the long term? What's their kind of financial motivation?
That's really interesting. Do you know what? I don't think we've ever had a conversation that says we must focus on ESG or sustainability stuff because it's going to drive value.
Right.
If I'm honest, that's an interesting question. I think it's just I think it's deeper than that with Talbrook. I think it's we have a responsibility to be more responsible. They think that in their investments, I think, and we do in the way that we run our business, and we're aligned in just being a better business. So it occupies the agenda in that we should be making progress, and I'm sure we can talk about how to measure that and how you drive results. And they're pushing us hard to that, but we've actually never had a conversation on because it creates more value.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
I don't know whether it does or not, actually.
I don't know either. What I do know, there was a study out recently by one of the big management consultancy firms that effectively said that the number of investors who have ESG criteria has increased from about 25% to 80% in the last 5 years. There's also a suggestion, or at least a philosophy, that if you are taking action on sustainability, you're building resilience into your business and therefore adding greater value. You're getting a better relationship with your employees, brand value, a halo effect, etc.
And as we talked earlier, I don't think customers necessarily choose a restaurant business because of their sustainability agenda. But I think that at some point you will be judged on how good a business you are by consumers, by society, by whatever. At some point, whether it's journalists, whether it's publications, there's always league tables that come out. At some point there will be a moment in time where there will be a separation between the businesses that have done their bit and have helped to drive that agenda and the ones that haven't. And I think you will be judged at some point.
Yeah.
In the moment, colour of the curtains, I don't think people choose you on that. They choose you on the food that you sell and whether it fits the occasion that they're looking for. And I think there's a hygiene factor potentially, which probably sounds wrong, that if you're a better business, they probably think better of you.
Yes.
And I think that will mature in time, and at some point there'll be a moment to judge. And I guess as a consequence of that, you could argue you're building value because, but it's more that there's no real upside, but you're definitely protecting on the downside.
Yeah. So we definitely talk about it through three lenses. One of them is about enhancing brand, and I totally understand and agree with what you're saying. It's not necessarily about, for some businesses, it's an opportunity to elevate the brand, but for many, it's about brand protection. We talk about improving efficiency, so obviously cut your electricity use, cut your costs, improve efficiency, and we talk about building resilience. So what we see is more extreme weather impacting our ability to produce food. So you get more volatility in prices, less availability, changes in quality. So if you've been able to align with the right suppliers, you can build resilience in your business.
Oh, that's right. And if everyone does their bit, eventually, hopefully, we won't see such extremes in weather, and then you'll have a more affordable and more resilient supply chain in the future. So in that respect, of course, it adds value. It's just probably not immediate, is it?
Yeah, no, and I think again that's absolutely right. It's about building long-term value. We definitely see that in terms of the long-term shared journey. Is there's a collective responsibility to reduce our emissions, not just reducing emissions within the food chain, but building resilience within the food chain, and that needs to be a whole system-wide change rather than individual businesses, which is why, of course, why we do what we do. Can we talk about the speed at which you've made progress?
Yeah.
So I think change takes time, and quite often see businesses taking quite a long time to make change, or getting tied up in knots about the change they need to make. You seem to have made quite a few changes quite quickly and seemingly effortlessly.
We just sort of try to empower people and break it down into a couple of areas. So the first area is kind of like the big behavioural changes, and they're very difficult to do. So that's restaurants, that's people using less energy, throwing away less food, measuring plate waste, various other bits and pieces. They are very difficult and slow to change because you're trying to change behaviour, and to change behaviour, people need to be bought in, and to buy in, that takes time, etc. But there are some things that we can do centrally, and which the central teams are responsible for. And I think on those you can be moved much more quickly by having a very clear target of one or two things that a function might be responsible for, and then with some guardrails, normally cost, and then seeing what they can do. So, as an example for that, a property function, we say the other thing, you need, Bob, is you need some sort of wisdom, I don't know if I'm sure of course Claudia, who works for us. She's a fantastic, very, very, very knowledgeable individual, and she will help us understand what the art of the possible. And I think you combine those two things. So first of all, you've got an ambition as a business to want to achieve something. You speak to the property team and with Claudia and go, what is the art of the possible? She might say, all right, well, you should be building restaurants or fitting out restaurants to a sustainable standard. There is a standard. Okay, well, we didn't know there was, but Claudia will help us understand there was. Our property team can then focus on building restaurants to what is a SKA rating, and they just focus on that. And since we've done that, actually, we've now, in all of our businesses, we've now opened restaurants that have reached the highest level, gold standard of SKA ratings, both new builds and refurbishments. And the property team done that, working with Claudia. The same thing might be true with our supply chain team, where we might be working on, they're looking at various initiatives and they feel empowered. And there's a lady who works in our supply chain team that has developed an industry first, I understand, a closed loop system, where she was working with our suppliers to collect food waste from our restaurants. We then use that food waste to turn into fertiliser, which then is used on our fields for wheat generation. That's then harvested by one of our milling companies, that's turned into flour that goes back to make our dough. So we've developed that, and that was an idea that was generated, from Claudia, helping us understand the art of the possible.
Yeah.